I was the ATM in a house of women. When I stopped paying, they collapsed, then raged, and now they are begging me to come back. They called it girls only. Until the bills were due. I paid. I gave. I stayed silent. Until one day, I pulled the plug, and watched my whole family fall apart without me. Now they're begging to come back. But I'm done being their wallet with a pulse. Hello Reddit. Ever been treated like a walking wallet by your own family? Yes, same. Except for when payments were due, I was the only man in a house full of women who addressed everything as a girl. They excluded me from dinners, excursions and birthdays, but always remembered me when the rent was late or something needed fixing. I remained silent for years, helping and showing up until they crossed the line one too many times. So I pulled the plug, and their entire world fell apart. Here's how things went down. So, I'm Nathan, a 28-year-old male, and my entire family, at least the part that communicates with me, is all female. My mother, two older sisters, Brielle and Megan, age 31 and 33 females. My mother has 3 aunts, 2 of whom are sisters, and 1 of whom is married. Basically, I grew up in a girl cult, and not the fun type where people like you. My father dipped following a violent divorce when I was a child, and no one has heard from his side of the family since. So, yep, I grew up in a house where I was the only guy and was regularly subjected to the "you're just like your father" passive digs whenever I disagreed with something. Moms have always had this switch. If you didn't fall in line, it would be sweet one minute and freezing the next. Anyway, a few years ago, my mother and her sisters began doing these girls-only weekends. That started with a movie, The Avengers or something, and I guess that was a hit because they kept going out every couple of weeks after that like clockwork. I didn't care at first. I'm not the sort to get in anyone's way or cause a fuss. I live alone, have a good job, my own place, and hobbies. If they want to have brunch and gossip, go for it. But then things started snowballing. What began as a girls' movie night evolved into a trip to the zoo, supper, a spa day, bowling, and, at one point, a baseball game. Not kidding. Half of those things aren't even girly to begin with, yet there's still no invitation for me, and every time somebody uploaded pictures in the group chat or shouted about how much fun they had, I'd simply drop a thumbs up emoji and scroll on. I tried to appear like nothing bothered me. The thing is, I am not a distant cousin or a random family friend. I am their son and brother, and I am the one who helps them the most. For years I've been giving my mother money every month to assist her pay her bills. My younger aunt needs assistance with a car payment. I spotted her. One of my sisters was laid off for 3 months. And guess who covered her rent? Me. I have never flung it in their face either. I was raised to support family members, even if they can be unpleasant at times, but they certainly do not treat me as if I matter. My sisters, however, had a completely different tale. My mother acts as if they're nobility. Every time one of them does something simple, like get a job or make lasagna, the entire group text explodes with "proud of you girl" or "you're amazing babe." I purchased my mother a new fridge after her old one died last year, and she said it was lovely, as if I was a random neighbor helping her out. And while I realize I sound bitter, wouldn't you be? Imagine being the only guy in a family full of women, doing everything you can to help them because you know you're the man, and still being treated as a backup plan. For example, if I disappeared, the only thing they would miss was the money. The strangest thing is that they appear to be so kind and caring. That's their entire mood. Sisterhood, women helping women, ride or die energy. However, they have essentially created a small circle in which I am not welcome unless it is Thanksgiving, or someone needs a lift to the airport. Around the second year, it became clear that the girls were the only ones. They would plan things right in front of me. I'd be sitting in my mom's living room, discussing brunch arrangements, or an upcoming trip. And not once would they turn to me and say, "Hey, wanna come?" Not even with a false invitation, just pretending I'm invisible. I once tried to joke about it. I thought to myself, damn, guess I need to grow my hair out and change my name to be part of the club. Crickets are cute. One of my aunts gave a false laugh. My mother did not even look up from her phone. It's as if the moment I mention being excluded, I'm either ignored or told I'm making things up about myself. Which is exactly what they said to my father before he left. So, maybe I'm like him. I believe what messed me up was that I kept giving them the benefit of doubt. I kept thinking that maybe they don't understand how it feels. Perhaps it isn't intended. Perhaps I am reading too much into it. But after 2 years of the same nonsense, no invites, no recognition, and just plain acting like I'm a second-rate member, I stopped making excuses for them. It's more than just being left out. It's the attitude, the entitlement, the way they treat me as if I were a walking wallet and background character. Despite this, They go above and beyond for one another. When one of my sisters asked for help remodeling her living room, 3 of them dropped everything and showed up with paint swatches. I offered to help fix my mother's dryer and was told, maybe let the professionals handle it. Cool. I get it. So yes. At this moment, the girl's main focus was no longer on a cute motif. It was an excuse. It became a method of reminding me I didn't belong, that I'm not one of them and never will be, which would be okay if they didn't rely on me for everything when things went wrong. I did not speak up right away. I kept it all inside. But deep down, I understood that something had to give. I was either going to put up with it for the rest of my life, or admit what it was. Favoritism, entitlement, and disrespect. And I might have been raised to be the good person in the family. But even I have limits. I haven't reached that limit yet. Not then. But it was near. Anyway, as mid-January arrives and I'm finishing off work on a Saturday, I realize I haven't heard anything about Aunt Cheryl's birthday. Normally, by now, I'd have received one of those reservations with 7 messages, followed by some pricey menu screenshots. But the radio is silent. Weird. I text my sister. Nothing. I write my mother, and she responds 5 hours later. We already did something last weekend. Cheryl's going out of town. No heads up, no invite, nothing. I question. Wait, you all already did her birthday dinner? She answers. Yeah, just a little girls' night. Right now, here's the situation. I don't care about dinner. It is not the food. It is not the aunt. It's a pattern. I'm being told again that I don't have to be there. They headed to the restaurant downtown, which I introduced them to in 2019. It's funny how it only happens to girls when they're enjoying the perks I've given them. And this time, I did not sit there wondering what I had done wrong. I just filed it under. You truly believe I'm disposable, huh? What made things worse? I had previously bought her a gift. I took time out of my week to go get her this specialized herbal tea set that she mentioned casually during a chance conversation in the fall. I remembered it, got it, wrapped it up, and included the card. I don't do half-assed crap like this. I simply believe in doing the right thing for people, even if they don't realize it. Dropped it off at her house like it was an Amazon delivery. No call, no hug, just a thank you text a day later. That's when it changed for me. Not because of the supper or the present. It was discovering I was an afterthought. I'm the man who is remembered after the fun is over. And only because I may bring a gift. I did not vent, I did not argue. I did not guilt trip anyone since I knew what earned respect in this household. No, it is not an effort, it's not a sacrifice. It's being a part of their clique, female club, or inner circle. If you don't fit the mold, you won't receive credit. No matter what you do for them behind the scenes. That is not publicized. That doesn't result in thank you messages. That is overlooked. So, when people wonder why I didn't say something earlier, it's because I didn't want to appear petty. I allowed them to have their girls' evenings, spa days, and inside jokes. I was not attempting to disrupt their party. However, it is no longer just girl time. It's family time, minus the individual they don't want to include. That week, I reached a choice. No more unnecessary effort. I wasn't going to chase inclusion or work so hard to earn something they wouldn't give me. Respect should not be a reward for remaining silent and contributing more. So I pulled back little, not radically, and began saying no a little more. My aunt asked if I could assist her repair her broken screen door. I told her I was tied up. My mother needs assistance resolving an issue with the insurance portal. I told her to call the firm. My sister wanted to borrow money for the 3rd time this year. I told her not just now. You'd think I had burned down their house. Some folks get passive-aggressive after receiving a money text from my mom 2 days later. Did not even respond. I understood they don't only expect me to help. They count on it. They feel entitled to my time, money, and attention, but not to my presence, voice, or seat at the table. I'm good enough to support the family but not enough to keep up with it. So, no, I didn't care about the steak supper. I was concerned that I was the only one who was consistently excluded. I concerned that they didn't even think it was wrong. And believe me, I was already noticing them preparing for something else. Talk of a summer getaway had already begun to circulate in the chat. They referred to it as a small beach getaway. Nothing big, but I understood where it was going. So, usually around March, the women in my family start talking about their annual beach trip. It is a tradition. Weekly rental. Everybody provides food. Some people just take selfies of themselves pretending to cook. And of course, I do the most of the heavy lifting, literally. And monetarily, I've been covering the house deposit and sometimes more because, being the responsible guy in the family evidently includes serving as the official ATM. This year, however, there was no word. The group conversation seemed oddly quiet. At first, I assumed they were scaling back, but then I started seeing problems. Instagram pictures with captions like, "Son's calling," shopping bags filled with beach items, and vacation body countdowns from my sisters, as if they were preparing for a photo shoot. Even my aunt casually questioned if I still had that large cooler. There is no mention of the actual journey, only a few subtle cues. I didn't need Sherlock Holmes to put everything together. They were arranging a beach excursion, the same one that I normally bankroll. The same one we all decided on last year was a wonderful tradition. There's only one change now. Apparently I did not make the cut. Here's where things get wild. Back in December, after Thanksgiving, I quipped, "Guess I'll cover the beach house again so you guys don't end up in a shack with no AC." They laughed like I was doing stand-up and said stuff like, "You're the best, and we'll owe you one." That's it. That was the entire scope of the planning meeting. And presumably, that was enough for them to proceed. I felt like I was completely locked in as the unpaid sponsor, arranging the trip, choosing the property, and even putting my name down for the booking, but they never bothered to inform me that they were changing it into a girls-only event. I learned the final tidbit via a remark one of my aunts left on my sister's page. "I'm quite eager for our beach week. Thank you again for reserving it for Nathan." I swear you could hear a record scratch in my brain. So let me get this straight. They're taking a vacation without me, using my name, and have no intention of informing me until the deposit is received. That is not family. That is organized stealing and flip-flops. At this time, I was not even irritated. It was honestly very hilarious. Like watching toddlers attempt a bank heist with crayons and a phony ID, just foolish enough to be bold. Now I could have blown up the group conversation. I could have confronted everyone and gone nuclear. So why bother? They don't listen when I speak, they only respond when I act. So I did what any sensible person would do. I got onto the reservation page, canceled the pending reservation, and deleted my credit card from the account. No warning, just a poof. The repercussions came quickly. Within 24 hours I received the first wave of SMS messages. They started light and disoriented. "Hey, something is wrong with the payment." Then came the passive-aggressive wave. "I thought you said you could manage it." My personal favorite comes next. "We'd already told the kids we were going. This is not fair." Fair. You're arranging a vacation without my knowledge, using my credit card, and refusing to invite me because I wasn't born with the proper plumbing, and you're talking about fairness. But I did not answer. Not because I was upset or trying to be dramatic, but because silence is a complete sentence. They wanted to pretend that I did not exist. Fine. I returned the favor quietly and professionally. Then, just to emphasize the point, I reserved a mountain cottage for the same week. I went with a handful of buddies. There are no announcements or revenge posts. Just a photo of us grilling on the deck, laughing over something stupid, with a fire pit in the backdrop, calm in the air, and that genuine vacation vibe. One in which no one expects you to pay the bill, while still waiting outside the gate. Apparently, the sight alone sparked a meltdown. I didn't see the group chat break apart in real time because I was on mute, but one of my cousins texted me a screenshot afterward. Full panic mode. They had no rental or backup plan. It turns out that if you burn bridges with the guy who schedules everything and pays for it, the vacation fairy will not appear to save you. Nonetheless, I kept it classy. No digs, and I told you so. They scrambled like a broke reality show cast attempting to manufacture a holiday out of vibes and borrowed beach towels, leaving me with nothing but stillness and s'mores in my cabin. Here's the sickest part. Neither of them apologized. Not one. They tried to make it appear as if I had faltered. As if it was my fault for not reminding them that using my name and card needed my explicit permission. At this moment, the entitlement has reached Olympic level. They don't respect me, but they expect me to appear as the unnoticed sponsor of their festivities. And when I don't, I suddenly find myself producing problems. No, they wanted a girls' getaway. They received one, but not the deluxe edition they were used to because that version required me. So, after the whole trip disaster, I didn't make a fuss. I didn't send long messages justifying myself or use dramatic one-liners in group chat. I simply stopped replying. There was no last straw speech or storming out. I severed the cord in the same way that a contractor would disconnect power to a condemned building. Quiet, final, and unconcerned with what's still happening inside. And for a while, I was almost persuaded they had received the message. The group talk was dry. No texts, no phony invitations. Just pure silence. which was similar to my family hearing a dog not bark when someone knocked on the door. It did not feel serene. It seemed weighty, as if they were regrouping. Next came the couch test. My older sister emailed a one-liner Monday morning. "Can you help me take my new couch upstairs? The delivery men will not do stairs. No greeting, no check-in. Just write back in the same entitled tone as if I had struck pause rather than stop." I didn't respond. I read it while eating a morning burrito and continued browsing. Aunt Cheryl contacted on Tuesday with some "Hey sweetie" fluff and a request for assistance in disputing a credit card transaction. She claimed the webpage was confusing and she did not want to call anyone. I said, "The number on the back of the card still works." Nothing happened after that. Wednesday morning, I received the call. Now, for perspective, my mother only calls when someone dies or when she needs something complicated that she can't text about. So, when I saw her name come up, I picked it up out of interest rather than anxiety. She did not waste a second. "Your sister's automobile was totaled this morning." She blurted out. "She is in the hospital. It is awful. They are suggesting she needs surgery. Her legs were really messed up. We're trying to raise the funds but it's tight. There is no hello, no building. Only a direct route to panic." I paused. Something didn't sit well. For starters, she did not specify which sister. Not their name, not the hospital, not even the customary dramatic voice she uses when she is shaken. So I asked flat. "Where is she?" "St. Thomas," she answered too fast. "They won't let anyone in right now because of all the scans. They're being strict about access." They still didn't say their names. I assured her that I'd call the hospital directly. Her tone shifted sharply. No, don't do that. She's in and out. They won't be able to confirm anything. It's too soon." I did not argue. I simply said, "All right," and hung up. I then opened Instagram. I checked both of my sister's pages. My older one hadn't posted in a day, which was not uncommon. But my younger sister just published a photo of a cappuccino with her name typed incorrectly on the cup, with the message, "Barista's never going to get it right." Big smile, full makeup, comfortable sweater. Not exactly the vibe of someone just out of surgery. I double-checked the timestamp. 7 minutes ago. If she was at a hospital, they must have started serving artisan coffee with faux art recently. I slumped back in my chair, phone still in hand, and simply stared at the screen. My own mother had staged a car accident, surgery, and an emergency in order to defraud me. And the thing that really grabbed me. She didn't even try. There were no phony tears, no build-up, or emotional manipulative finesse. Just an automatic, heartless lie, like if she were ordering delivery. That's how casual things had become. Weaponizing tragedies to squeeze me like a bank account that won't close. I did not call anyone. I did not respond to his text. I just let it sit. The next morning, the group chat erupted with ambiguous babble. My mother sent a passive message. "Thank you to everyone who came together yesterday. I'm reminded why family is important." Translation. I didn't receive what I wanted from him, but I'm still going to say the fraud succeeded. Then Cheryl wrote, "Some of us just do more, and that's okay." I closed the application. I wasn't astonished anymore. I was finished. This was not a misunderstanding. This wasn't an overreaction. This was a deliberate emotional hoax. This was my own mother fabricating an accident since my silence affected their financing source. I spent the following hour arranging screenshots. Every time they requested for money, every last-minute frantic favor, and every guilt SMS I had ignored until now. I saved everything in a folder on my phone labeled memory. Not to embarrass them later, or to send it to anyone, but to ensure that I never forgot how far they came when I stopped being their scapegoat. That silence, that calm, wasn't just satisfying. It was liberating. Then the final blow came. Saturday night, my mother texted again. "There will be no big opening this time. There is no false emergency. Simply, can you help with rent this month? Things have been hard. Everyone's doing their best." I glanced at it, then typed, "Everyone's best looks a lot like my worst." I sent it. Mute. Did not even wait for her response. I blocked her phone number for the weekend so I could enjoy 48 hours of uninterrupted time. I wasn't upset. I was just being straightforward. The issue with cutting people off is that the silence doesn't affect them right away. Consequences do. And when I finished helping, I didn't leave a note. There's no final warning. Simply unplug the power and walk away. The fissures took roughly 2 weeks to show. Then everything started crashing quickly. First one within the blast radius. Brielle, my older sister, had been driving a car that I had officially co-signed 2 years earlier. Long story short, she was unable to qualify for a loan. Begged me to simply put your name on it. She said she would take care of everything. And she did for a while, until I quietly removed my name following the vacation stunt. I completed the legal paperwork about a month ago. I gave her a heads up that she ignored. I did not push it. I just got out. It turns out she was overdue on payments. 3 to be exact. The dealership repossessed the automobile in broad daylight, right outside her workplace. A coworker taped the entire affair. She called my mom, crying like a grounded teenager. Mom texted me, "How could you do this to her?" Do this to her? I did not contact the repo guy. I simply stopped babysitting her mess. That following weekend, I received a call from the power provider. My name remained on the account at Mom's residence. I assumed I had already turned it over to her. Guess not. She hadn't paid for 2 billing periods. Balance was approaching $600. They were about to turn it off, so I paid. Nah. I phoned them, removed my name instantly, and let the system handle it. That Monday they were without power for 36 hours. Mom texted me, "Wow, you really don't care anymore, huh?" She was correct. I did not. Then came the bounced rent. Megan, my younger sister, had been paying rent on a 2-bedroom apartment she shared with a roommate, but she had been relying on funds from the family pool to get by. What about the family pool? Yeah, that was essentially me. When I stopped wiring her anything, she fell behind quickly. Her roommate launched a passive-aggressive rant on Facebook. Some persons are not equipped to handle adult duties. Very subtle. Megan was back at her mother's house in 3 days, sleeping on the couch and blaming the unhealthy living environment. I'm thinking the landlord did not purchase that one either. By week 3, Aunt Cheryl was selling furniture on Facebook Marketplace. That alone did not surprise me. What surprised me was the description she gave for a $90 used coffee table. A family is experiencing difficulties as a result of betrayal. Please help if you can. Betrayal. I practically spewed up my coffee after reading that. For years these folks were so used to feeding off of me that stopping the gravy train felt like a betrayal. This is the portion that got twisted. Someone tried to open a new credit card in my name, but I'm not sure who it was. They still had some older mail. Perhaps adequate for a week application. I received a fraud alert email, flagged it, refused it, and shut everything down. I did not even confront anyone. Allow them to experiment with nasty play. All they did was expose themselves more. The next thing I know, Mom's bank account is frozen due to an overdraft. She called my aunt, wailing over having to cancel an upcoming dental surgery, because we are not all fortunate enough to be able to neglect family. The same woman who staged a car accident 2 weeks ago is now exploiting cavities as moral leverage. By mid-month, my cousin had messaged me on the side. "Just so you know, they're currently attempting to enlist Uncle Leon's help." I told him, "You shut everyone off without justification." That day, Uncle Leon called to make me laugh about it. He isn't really family. He's an old acquaintance of my father's who came over every now and then but had his own life and family. "He's a solid dude, man." He remarked, "They really painted you as the villain." I said, "I don't care. Let them." Because here's the kicker. When I stopped supporting the show, the entire set collapsed. No vacations, no rides, no bill assistance, no insurance paperwork, and no support. They were not upset that I changed. They were angry that they had to. One day Megan called me personally. This was her first call in months. I let it ring directly to voicemail. She texted afterwards. "Can we at least discuss why you're acting like this? You used to help." Yes, I used to, when there was some mutual respect. Or at least the appearance of it. But after the lies, frauds, and entitlement, the silence was not retaliation. It was sanity. Then came the hospital stunt. Not the bogus one. This one was real. Aunt Cheryl tripped at work and shattered her wrist. There was a need for outpatient surgery. It was a little issue, but the deductible appeared to be high. She texted me an essay about how no one else can help right now. And I understand you do not want to hear from us, but this is different. And different. When I injured my wrist 4 years ago, I paid out of pocket and received no calls or support. They sent me a humorous meme about how men are awful at resting. I left her text to read. And that must have been the final straw for them, because they went completely insane afterward. Mom wrote a message in the group chat, which is still muted on my end, saying, "We don't need anyone's help. Some people just want to see others fail when they stop being useful." Aunt Cheryl wrote underneath, "That's what happens when someone thinks money equals morals." They were attempting to change the narrative, as if they were the victims of a tyrant ruler who had taken away their free meal. As if they hadn't spent years on autopilot, handing me cash and expecting me to grin and swipe. Finally, the cherry on top. They tried contacting my boss. I am not kidding you. Someone, most likely Brielle, posted an email to my workplace's general inbox claiming that I had abandoned my sick mother, which was impacting his mental health and ability to focus at work. The communication was so bizarre that HR emailed it to me and inquired whether I was all right. I laughed, said family drama, and they dropped it. That was the day I changed my phone number. No huge speech, no dramatic farewell. Just done. Same city, job, and apartment. But I cut everything they used to entice me back. This time, there would be no more chances. It wasn't the I'm simply going to ignore them. They don't exist for me anymore. I didn't announce it. Let them continue texting into the emptiness. Allow them to find it out when their calls stopped getting through and their group chat rants were never received. For the first time in years, I was not on standby. There are no midnight emergencies, no demands for bill assistance, no faux birthday guilt, simply a clean, silent line where there was once pandemonium. Uncle Leon was the only person I still kept in touch with. He would contact me on occasion with updates, such as a sports review of a team I had quit rooting for. Brielle appears to be suffering with her commute, Megan is eating through mom's cupboards like locusts, and Cheryl has been pawning furniture so quickly that the living room resembles a murder scene. He inquired if I was okay. I told him I was as good as I'd ever been. But deep down, I knew the silence would not endure. This was not over. I knew it was not over. You don't remove yourself from a whole system of exploitation and then expect them to let you go. Parasites don't give up their hosts easily. It was Saturday morning. I had the windows open, coffee on the counter, and some jazz playing quietly on my Bluetooth speaker. Given the year I'd had, it felt almost artificially peaceful. The air even smelt fresh. That strange stillness you get when everything is absolutely right. Then came a knock. Not a friendly neighborly, "Hey, you got a sec?" type of knock. This was fist on wood. Aggression at its most extreme. Someone seeking to disrupt rhythm rather than create touch. I opened the door, and there she was. My mother. Not the version of her who used to bake cookies and give forced embraces. It was a different version. Hair wild, eyes fixed on me as if I had thrown her down a precipice. Her mouth was already moving before I could say anything. "You really think this is how you treat family?" she exclaimed. "You think you can just throw us all in the street and pretend like we don't exist?" I blinked. "No, hi. No, can we talk?" Just an immediate accusation, as if I had burned down the house and left a letter saying, "Figure it out." I did not respond right away. I simply gazed at her. Really stared at her. She seemed exhausted. Not exhausted from work or aging. Tired like someone who had spent weeks lying, scrambling and blaming and couldn't figure out why nothing was working anymore. Then I just said, "You chose this." Calm, steady, no yelling. And that's what got her going. "You're just like your father." She muttered, as if it were the final insult. "Cold, selfish and resentful. He abandoned this family, and you're following suit." I remained at the doorway, arms crossed, not giving her an inch. "Dad departed because you treated him poorly. I just figured it out faster." She slapped my cheek with an open fist. Not hard enough to knock me back, but enough that the music within no longer felt suitable. I did not flinch. I only nodded slowly, like if a math equation had finally resolved itself. "That was all you had left, right?" I said. "When the guilt and falsehoods no longer worked, you went back to basics." She started pacing and rambling. Something about Megan having nowhere to go. Brielle is in debt because of me. Cheryl is unable to organize her life since she is overly anxious. Then she pointed to the street and yelled, "You're sitting here in your little apartment living your little life while your family is drowning. You mean the family that used me like a checkbook and left me out of everything unless something needed fixing?" I requested an explanation. She didn't respond. Instead, she snatched the potted plant beside my door, an ugly porcelain cactus that someone from work had given me, and threw it down the stairs. Ceramic exploded. Soil is everywhere. Did not even blink. "You think this makes you strong?" she exclaimed. "You think cutting everyone off makes you better? You're a coward. A spoiled little coward just like your father." Then she began removing items from the small patio table, tossing my ashtray, knocking over the folding chair, taking her keys, and damaging the paint on the railing. I took a step back and pulled my phone out of my pocket. Still calm, she continued to yell, "You'll regret this. You'll die alone, just like him. Then she kicked a panel near my air conditioning unit. It cracked. Not even a large crack, but enough to be dumb. That was when I dialed. Not to threaten or warn her. I phoned the cops, explaining that my mother was trespassing and vandalizing my property. I said it flatly, as if I were ordering lunch. "You're calling the police on your own mother?" she asked. "On the woman who pretended to have a hospital emergency, attempted to steal from me, and simply vandalized my property? Yes, that is what I am doing." "You're disgusting," she said. I learned from the experts. I did not raise my voice, did not match her insanity. I just let her know I wasn't the same kid who said yes to every guilt trip. I wasn't the same man who helped them out when they failed to pay their water bill or mistakenly filled up their data plan by streaming Netflix all month. I was finished. The dispatcher remained on the line and inquired if she was still on the premises. I said yes. My mother stood there shaking, not crying, but screaming, as if she couldn't understand how someone like me, who was always bent, could suddenly not shatter. I saw her collapse a little when she realized I wasn't joking, and that cops were actually on their way. She backed off the porch, took one more glance at me, then turned and stomped toward her car. Before entering, she shouted, "Don't come crawling back when no one wants you." I gazed at her and answered, "I'd rather be unwanted than used." She sped away. Tires screeched. Nothing spectacular, just the sound of someone out of control who wants to feel powerful. Again. 15 minutes later, 2 officers arrived and took a fast statement. I showed them the broken pot, the damaged panel, and the scratch on the rail. I also had everything on camera. My doorbell cam had recorded the entire spectacle in high definition. They offered to submit an official report. I answered yes, not because I wanted her arrested, but because I wanted a record. The following day, Uncle Leon called. He had heard. When someone such as my mother has a public meltdown, the news spreads quickly. He was not surprised. I just inquired whether everything was okay. "Yes," I told him. "She finally revealed who she truly is." He breathed deeply and responded, "Sometimes people aren't mad that you stopped helping. They're mad you stopped believing they needed help in the first place." I hung up and stood in the center of my living room, letting the silence settle in. She was gone. Not physically. She still existed, and lived 15 minutes away. But the illusion had vanished. The expectation that she would change, comprehend, or just back down when I asked her to. All of that ended when she flung a flower pot and scraped my porch rail like an adolescent keying an ex's car. This was the final break. There will be no more texts, second chances, or excuses based on shared blood. Just me standing in the ruins of a family that expected me to keep things together and despised me the moment I stopped. A week later, and everything still feels silent. Not phony silence, but true quiet, with no phone noise, no fake emergencies, and no guilt bombs wrapped in checking texts. It's as if someone turned off a sitcom that had lasted too long. After the cops arrived that day, I did not try to twist anything. I spoke the truth. She smacked me, keyed my porch rail, flung a pot on the steps, and yelled as if I were the devil. The officer wrote everything down and asked if I wanted to seek charges. I replied, "No, just document it." I needed something on paper in case she did it again. He nodded and departed, but the harm had already been done. That news destroyed her fantasy that I was usually quiet. She was not arrested, but she was issued an official warning, which she despised. Uncle Leon informed me that she has been telling her family that I ruined her life by siding with the law over blood. I believe in her perspective, blood represents immunity from consequences. Meanwhile, her meltdown was the last straw for everyone else. Cheryl stopped communicating with her 2 days later. Apparently they didn't want to be linked with someone unstable enough to draw police attention. Brielle moved out briefly, claiming she needed more room, but she is currently couch surfing. Megan is still confined there, but she seldom speaks to her mother. The house is like a powder keg, with no one to absorb the heat. And me? I'm simply watching it unfold from a distance. I changed my number and blocked everyone except Uncle Leon. He's the only one who speaks to me as if I'm human. Not a debit card on legs. He updates me, but never informs me how to repair it. It just states that they are adjusting to life without you. Brielle attempted to text me through a burner number. Said I was cruel. Mom's depression worsened. Megan claimed he had to take out a payday loan. I read it and deleted it. I've saved enough. It is their turn now. The funny thing is that when you finally set boundaries, people believe you've changed, that you're bitter, and that you've become the villain. Nah, I'm the same man that helped fix the fridge, paid for birthdays, reserved rental properties, handled payments, and listened to their messes. The only thing that changed was that I stopped playing dumb. I started spending money on myself. Nothing fancy, just regular stuff. Replacing worn-out footwear, repairing the air conditioner in my car, and ordering takeout without considering if I'd need to transfer money to someone else that week. I eventually reserved a cabin up north. Solo travel, no group conversation, no drama. Can you drive us? I now spend most of my evenings sitting outside. It feels strange not checking my phone every 5 minutes for another favor. It is almost too still. But then I remembered the scratch on the porch rail. The one she left. I left it there. I could have sanded it off by now, but I didn't. It reminds me how close I was to losing my tranquility again. Mom hasn't responded since. No apologies, only quiet. Probably still telling the story her way. Probably still believes I'll break eventually. I will not. I'm not mad anymore, not even sad, just finished. Some people believe that silence signifies failure. For me, it signifies finally.